Clerk, please call the roll.
Chair Lombardi.
Present.
Mrs. Mayo. Here. Mr. Connell.
Here.
Mrs. Mata. Here. Mrs. Bartimore. Here.
We have 5 present. We have a quorum. Let's move on to the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Unless there's an objection, I'd like to move to item 6, new business, presentation of athletic certificates for our cheerleading state champions.
Okay. And we have Alicia Heon and Valerie Orlana here to stand and say a few words as coaches of the cheerleading team.
Good evening. Just wanted to say thank you for honoring us tonight. I've been coaching here, September will be 15 years. We brought home 4 state championships. So we're really thanking you guys also as well for all the support that you've given us over the years. We could not do this without the support of the athletics, the school committee, as well as the school. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have some certificates to pass out?
Julia Almeida. Madison Costello. Madeline Dano. Kenzie Davis. Caitlin Farmer. Zoe Garnett. Aline Gerard. Kristen Harris. Hunter Kennel. Madison McGordy. Catherine McNeil. Olivia Morin. Annie Paiva. Madison Sherrill. Dylan Bowles. Kiana Wallowitz.
So we also won for the middle school for the first time as well. So I'm going to for about 3 years. COVID kind of gave us a break, but this is their first state championship. So we're very proud of them as well.
Adeline Bowman. Avery Cretan. Hannah Demers. Zell Gauthier. Gianna Gutierrez. Taylor Haswell. Julia Kamer. Jasmine Kennel. Morgan Piva. Chloe Wilcox. Emma Bellevue. Leah LeBrun. Annabelle Fleury. Gabriela Hidalgo. Sophia Taborda.
You're very proud of you.
Great job. Great job.
Let me move on to public comment, community comment. Does anybody want to make any comments? Hearing none, let's move on to the NEASC report by Dr. Burns. Let's recess for just 2 minutes. Thank you all for coming.
Okay, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to present tonight on the high school's recent NEASC accreditation. I am excited to share the process and outcomes of a multi-year and truly collaborative effort by teachers and staff at the high school. To begin, I would like to share the key components of the NEASC accreditation process and where we are in that process. The first step is the submission of a self-reflection report. And we did this was submitted fall 2023. And then there is the 2-day collaborative conference visit at the school site. This took place December 4th and 5th, 2023. Next is the development of a school growth plan. We call it our school improvement plan. And what's important here is that this new version of the plan needs to incorporate all of the feedback that we receive from the site visit. So our school improvement plan, we're giving it a check because it's ready to go, but we just want to make sure that we've completely aligned it to the NEASC findings. After that, there'll be a submission of a reflective summary report, and that'll take place summer 2025. And then we'll have a 4-day decennial visit, which will be in December of 2025. So this is a cyclical process. And throughout, there's virtual and in-person check-in meetings with NEASC staff and many deadlines for smaller subtasks. And to provide some context for the next few slides, I wanted to share the anatomy of NEASC standards and provide the structure for the key components that I just went through of the process. So there are 5 NEASC standards. Standard 1 is learning culture. Standard 2 is student learning. Standard 3 is professional practice. Standard 4 is learning support. And standard 5 are learning resources. And within the standards, there are 6 foundational elements. There are 2 for standard 1 and then 1 each for the other 4 standards. But the foundational elements are the areas that NEASC believes are essential to a quality educational experience for students. And through the reports and site visits, NEASC determines whether the school meets or does not meet these foundational elements. And meeting them is absolutely integral to being accredited. Taking it a step further,
Within the foundational elements, there are a set of underlying principles of effective practice. The number of principles you can see varies for each standard, but I wanted to provide just a quick example. So if we look at standard 1, Ms. Rawson, can you go back? Okay. So if you look at standard 1, the NIAS standard is learning culture. You'll see that there are 2 foundational elements, that we have a safe, supportive environment, and that also we have core values, beliefs about learning, and vision of the graduate. Under that, there are 7 principles, and those include things like making sure that we have an inclusive environment, looking at professional culture, looking at the well-being and social, emotionally, and academically of all students, civic responsibility, etc. So schools rate themselves on a continuum on all of these principles. Kim, if you could click. Thank you. So I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but I did want to show you kind of the scope of what we're talking about. This is a 21-page document. And so for each of these bullet points in the report and on the visit, we have to show evidence that we're meeting these areas. It's 21 pages. Next slide. So as I mentioned, the first step of the accreditation process is that schools must submit a comprehensive self-reflection report. And these are the components of the report. So for each standard, the school must collect and analyze data for all of the foundational elements, there are 6, and all of the underlying principles, there are 32. The school has to reach consensus on all ratings for the foundational elements and the principles of effective practice. The school needs to write a 5 to 10 page narrative to support the findings for each of the standards. And these findings become the central focus of the self-reflection report. And then areas of growth are also identified by the school. So because it's a large body of work, what we did to summarize and present evidence to staff, to the district, and especially to our visiting team is we built this Google site. And Kim's gonna just kind of click through it. So for each standard, we have all of the evidence, we have the report, we have the narrative. Then we also have the final report there. We have school-wide documents, there are many. And all of the work we did for Vision of the Graduate, all of the family communication. So we wanted to have all of our work in one central location so that when the visiting team came, they could just easily click through it and they had access to whatever they needed. So we developed this information graphic as a way of showing the visiting team the thoughtful and strategic steps that we took as we wrote our self-study report and prepared for our site visit. And I won't read each of these steps, but in brief, the activities included teachers selecting the standard that they wanted to work on, the creation of construct maps for each standard, individually rating all elements and foundational elements and principles, reaching consensus on the ratings, collecting and aligning evidence, drafting narratives for all elements and principles, analyzing the Ask survey data from staff, from students and families, using tuning protocols to provide warm and cool feedback to colleagues' narratives, and then finally, putting the report together, and the whole staff had to vote to approve that this was our final product. And at this point, I wanted to take a moment to highlight the commitment, the collaboration, and the general excellence of the teachers and staff at North Smithfield High School. We know from talking with the NIAS team, and also as several of us have been part of NIAS visiting teams for other districts, we know that oftentimes a small group of individuals at each school author the self-study report on behalf of the whole school. It's easier to write a report of this magnitude with a smaller group of people, But the staff at the high school, however, we felt strongly about ensuring that our report represented the voice of all. And it was difficult. During the daily business of educating hundreds of students, it's difficult to carve out and prioritize the time and energy to work on the many facets of NEASC. And it's difficult for a group of 50 educators or like 50 people from any field to collectively and systematically write a report like this. We used common planning time, professional development days, faculty meetings, and many more hours. But our staff, we accomplished this as a team, and we're very proud of the final product. I also at this point want to recognize our assistant principal, Kim Rawson, and also our NEAS coordinator, Mrs. Lindsay Ando, for their work. So after submitting that big report, we next prepared the agenda for our 2-day visit last December. We hosted a team of 4 visitors from all over New England. And during the visit, the NEAS team used a variety of methods to collect evidence. So this included a presentation by building administrators, a tour of the facilitators given by our students, classroom observations, and these were all classrooms. So it wasn't like we designated, see this, see that. All classrooms are open to our visitors. There was a review of all the school data, including survey works, including the data, our accountability data, and collected evidence that I just showed you in the Google site. And then they did many structured focus group protocols. So with student groups, with all faculty members, with central office administration, with school committee members, thank you, with families, with department heads, and also with student support staff. So the goal of this 2-day site visit is that the visiting team wants to confirm the findings that we wrote about in the self-reflection report. They want to see it firsthand. So at the end of the 2 days, the team chair debriefed the visit with us, but he could not share the overall results of the report because it needed to be submitted, it needed to be validated by NEASC, and so we waited and waited. And so on March 3rd, the Commission on Public Schools reviewed the report from the visiting team and voted to award North Smithfield High School continued accreditation. We received the following letter of notification at the beginning of this month. We learned that we met the standard for all foundational elements. We received 14 commendations, and they confirmed all 4 priority areas for growth that we identified in the self-reflection process. It was truly the best outcome that we could have hoped for. In terms of next steps, we will be submitting our school growth plan in October, no later than October. We have our next summary report, as I said, due summer 2025. And then mark your calendars, everybody. Our 4-day decennial visit, Sunday, December 7th, 2025 through Wednesday, December 10th, 2025. And that is all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Question.
Of course.
I remember the last, right? And wasn't that sort of a conditional? There were things that had to be done
There were.
in order for what?
The
So
science
this
labs, for
huge-
example.
Yeah, the science labs, the library media stuff, there were some things that weren't in place. And clearly that's all been addressed now, so that's wonderful. Thank you, and it's definitely a lot of work, I can tell.
Indeed.
A lot still to go. I mean, you know, it's not like 7:25. I mean, the long process.
It's double the length of time. They'll do more classroom observations. They'll also be taking a deeper dive. We'll have to submit samples of student work, and they'll be looking closely at our curriculum and the alignment. And then there'll be more focus groups, like I outlined for the 2-day. And I think that's about all that's different, but they'll spend a full day doing the alignment of student work to standards. So that I know from being on decennial visits myself, it takes a long time. And then the classroom observations for the 2-day visit, they were more like 15 minutes. And for the 4-day, they'll be very targeted. They'll make sure that they go into classes for every content area, and they'll stay for the full period. Yes. So the process that lives on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Moving on to the consent agenda. Does anybody have any things they want to take off or have questions on?
I just have a question about number 12. Sure. So is that just, I noticed there was new language that was input from the trust. So is that language that the trust is recommending?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I did.
So if you-
Just wanted to double check.
Yeah, so that it basically has to do with insurance.
Yeah, that's what it was clear to me.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was a
I-
rec-
Be careful. when I say
So it was
that.
a recommendation by the trust after they reviewed our policies.
So if I can just add to that, I read it, staff number 2, one, yeah, this has nothing to do with like sports or rental.
No, no.
It's called insurance.
Yes.
It's-
Making
these
sure
are
we're
what
covered.
the trust is suggesting at this time.
Wise.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to reports. Superintendent Arnold.
All is well. Spring in education is an incredibly busy time of year. Spring sports, as you can see, are in full swing here. We have our state academic testing this spring, and it's RICAS, PSAT, SAT, and GSA, which is in progress. Some of it has already taken place. The spring also brings field trips and concerts and awards nights. Our seniors will be presenting their senior projects on May 17th. You may have noticed the school committee and town council members have received invitations to be a judge. And so a friendly reminder that if you plan on judging, you have to RSVP by May 3rd. And that's in the email. There's a link to that. This spring, and then transitioning this spring, will conclude our ESSER, AKA COVID funds, which have funded improvement initiatives, including academic intervention, curriculum materials, professional development, summer enrichment, and summer academic enrichment activities, facilities improvement, including a portion of the high school windows, Chromebooks for students. We are incredibly grateful that we had access to these funds, and we see the improvements across the board, from academics to technology to facilities. And we'll be providing a more formalized report in June, just reflecting on the funds that we had and where it went.
Thank you. Any questions?
One question, actually, just because of the ESSER funds, right?
Yes.
Is there like a way to know, like, it's students, the impact of those programs, right? Because it's really important to be able to get that out there, what worked for kids, because we know there were some of the struggles. And I know that we don't have a data collection that's pulling in all the data across the schools and districts, and I just wondered if there was any, so that you know, like, the intensity, right? The kids there for 2 days, 2 hours versus 4 days, you know, anything like
So
that?
we do that internally, and we have just ongoing, because our admin team, if we met any of them, love to analyze data. So we'll look at initiatives and see the impact it has. We'll disentangle the initiatives and decide which initiative had the most impact. And so all along we've been doing that. And when we see something that is really working, then we usually try to scale it and bring it to other grade levels or other teams. There are different initiatives based on the grade level, the age of students and academics, but ultimately we will look at our internal data of student achievement data, our formative assessments and summative assessments, but also the state assessment. Are we progressing? Are we progressing at a faster rate than the rest of the state, which is always what we want, and we have been. And is there a pattern and trend with that? Is it, if you can't find the pattern, then it might not be sustainable change. And so that's what we're looking for, the sustainable. So we definitely know the initiatives that we put in place that had solid feedback. And actually SurveyWorks is part of that also. We do, and we also have internal surveys that we do. An example would be the grant that we use for clubs that support our clubs. So we have about 32 clubs at the middle school and 32 clubs at the high school that is funded by grants. And they just range from, disc golf to the Swifties club to bead making. I mean, it's just a variety of clubs. But students have to take a survey, a quick 2-second survey afterwards. Did it impact their sense of well-being and their belonging? And we have that data, and it's actually pretty overwhelming that students do self-reflect and they do say that these clubs make a significant difference. So that'd be something that we have, but we do have that internally. So the clubs we will. So some of that work did start with ESSER funds, but what we tried to do over the years, because it's been multi-year funding, is that if it's something that really is working, we find other funding sources. And so that is now within our consolidated resource plan and is funded through Title IV, but it started with ESSER. So that will continue.
Chair, just a comment. Actually, one question too, but a comment. And I just want to really just commend the whole system staff, Ms. Arnold and Ms. Mark in particular, because we've talked for several years, and I've often been asking, ESSER runs out at the end of 2024. It ends out to the point of quite tired of ever say that, but we always emphasize that. And I think that our statistical staff has done a great job of using the funds the way they're supposed to be used, and not like put us in a position where we're relying on it to continue to provide services that we need to provide, but to address the supports, because we use it the right way. And just from when I look around, I think a lot of schools, and it's natural, a lot of districts that they start to rely on ESSER funds, now that it's drying up, it's a real problem. We're having a nice, we're transitioning, we're doing what it's supposed to be. And the thing is, I just want to point that out because it's easy to miss, and because we're doing it very well, but and there's a lot of districts which relied on it, and they're not transitioning so well. And we want everybody to do well. We want everyone to do well, but we've really been focusing on it. That's a big thing. And the question I have, and I'll just think rhetorically, is what is the Swifties Club? What is this what?
Taylor Swift, the Swiftie Club.
You know, I'm not,
See, I didn't know.
I need that. Back my gas.
Thank you for that. And we owe a lot of that to Mrs. Marcotte, who will remind us and let us know that, oh, we need to find a funding source for this if this is something that you want to keep over the years. And so we will notice a difference when it's gone. I think it's given us incredible opportunities to extend and refine some of our program and expand. One of the things is the summer enrichment programs. We won't be able to run that this year, but we do have opportunities for students elsewhere. Within the community, but we won't be able to run it the way that we have with the ESSER funds.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 4, which is informational purposes. So it's resignations and coaching assignments. I'm sad to see Suzanne Rathburn is on there. I know that my family has worked with her for a number of years. So too bad she's leaving, but I wish her well in retirement.
Do you mind if I say a word or two about Mrs. Rathbone? So Mrs. Rathbone's been with us for 10 years, and I'd first and foremost like to congratulate her and thank her for her services as PPS director. So PPS director is pupil personnel director, and she really works with and oversees programming for our most vulnerable students. And those are students with disabilities, students with special needs, and our English language learners. And so she has worked tirelessly for the last 10 years, developing systems and structures of supports to create this active and challenging environment and experiences for our students to meet their full potential. She has expanded our LBC program at the elementary school, has developed training programs and transitioning programs for our high school students, outside partnerships, and she really has done so much work. We're incredibly appreciative. She plays an important role on our district leadership administrative team, and she will be very much missed. So we wish her the very best.
Cheryl, this side. I agree. I was on the hiring committee when you know, when she came up, and it was very funny. We all liked her, even though it did. Well, I mean, we had great figures, you know what I mean? And I personally thought she was a great hire, and we were very happy, and lucky to have her. And I was like to say, you know, Dennis Dello, who I've also just known over the years, and especially the last couple of years as secretary, after the end, you know, they're gonna miss Dennis too. And whenever we lose somebody, but they've both been a part of it for a while. But again, like our chair said, wish him well over time.
So Dennis has been with us for 14 years, total of 14 years. He was with us for a couple of years, and then he went to transition to Cumberland, and then he came back home. He was served as the bookkeeper, or otherwise known as the payroll guru. He was always very professional, very supportive to the district, and especially the business office. He's had numerous contributions to our office. We wish him well as he retires to Delray Beach in Florida. We're really going to miss him.
Yes, sure. Send, if we can send letters on behalf of the committee. Thanking them for the service. Anything else? Let's move on to item 5, which is old business, fiscal year 24-25 operating capital budgets.
So as you know, I sent out an email to all of you to inform you that the school formula aid was recalculated, and we're getting $106,000 less than what we originally anticipated.
So we need now approximately 600,000 from the town.
Yeah, about another 0.5%.
Sure.
I know, Michael, we had a discussion. We don't go into the details, but in your opinion, right now, the way they've got the formula set up, there's nothing to appeal, right? It is what it is, right? There's no like miscalculations that we can see.
No, I actually contacted them and had them double check the formula, and it is correct the way it was calculated.
We had that conversation. Because my thought was we could ask if there was a way to speak to our legislative delegation, but it is what it is, I would say, so.
For the record, I have spoken to my delegation.
Yeah. But it still is what it is, right?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I think it's $1 billion in requests at this point. That's what I was told, and so hopefully we can fit in that $1 billion or something. Somehow. Is there anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion's been made. Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. We're adjourned.